What is up, everybody? As we know, we actually been going on with the Idaho murders, guys. The four college students that was actually murdered in Idaho, Moscow, Idaho, shall I say? Better reference. So I got another reaction today of harsh reality, guys. It is actually called Housemates. Sixth housemate leads to more questions in case. Guys, was there a sixth one? Why wasn't that said to the from the two survivors, guys? And Jack being maybe the killer? That's mind blowing, guys. What about the guy in Moscow, Idaho that they caught ringing doorbells with the mask on? What is he? There's no record of him being arrested. Guys, without further ado, goes, love yourself, like yourself, be nothing but yourself. Like, subscribe, channel is highly appreciated. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video.
Another curveball in the Idaho student murders. We now hear that there is a sixth person who lived within this property. It would appear that someone has got hold of the lease potentially and found that there is a sixth person. We don't quite know how this has leaked at the moment, whether this was a tactical maneuver to control rumor or whether someone has indeed found it and leaked it themselves. But it seems to be confirmed that there is a sixth person who lives within that property, and that brings a lot of questions. Who is this sixth person? Was this sixth person the target, and is that why they weren't in the property? Were they purposefully avoiding the place that night? Were they somewhere else? They have not said that this is a suspicious person or they are potentially a suspect, but you've got to ask yourself, with what we know and what has been said, it raises some huge alarm bells to me, because you'd think that this would be something that would already have been out in the mainstream, that there was a six.
You would think that the cops would have came along and said something about this, guys. This is actually new evidence. So is this actually evidence, or is this maybe somebody that actually moved out that was actually on the lease? Could this person actually be tied in with the killer? I mean, because everybody thinks Jack's the killer. Is there actually a prime suspect in this case yet? 3 weeks, guys. We have DNA, they're testing it. But no hits has come back on this DNA. You got a neighbor who's actually came forward and gave up his DNA because everybody thought he was involved in this. Honestly, I feel like this. I feel like if the cops had enough evidence, they wouldn't have people coming forward to give up DNA, guys. It just doesn't happen. So in a way, I feel like that they don't have enough evidence to even have a killer. We don't even have the killer's knife that he used. And what if he used 2 of them? It's mind-blowing, guys. Anyways, guys, let's jump right back to the video.
Sixth person, and they didn't happen to be within the residence. You would think there would be more information out there, but at the moment, very, very minimal. We have no names. We have no idea who this sixth person is, why they weren't there, where they were instead. And like I say, so many questions at the moment. Were these victims targeted? Was this a targeted attack? Was the property targeted? As this is something that they've kind of flip-flopped from one side to the other, and they haven't handled this very well whatsoever.
And I 100% agree with that. They have not handled this very good. What number one priority, in my opinion, should have been, they should have went and locked down all trash cans throughout this neighborhood. They should have thoroughly checked it, went through it, inspected it, make sure there's something in there that does not belong to the killer, that the killer could have thrown away. You mean to tell me this killer got out of this house after stabbing 4 people? 4 got out of this house with no blood anywhere. The guy had to have blood on him. What did he do with his clothes? I mean, have they searched nearby water here? See, this is nothing that's coming forward. It's been 3 weeks. This guy's probably long gone by now. The only way we're gonna catch this guy is if we get his DNA. That's it. And the people who's bringing forward DNA isn't gonna be the people who's actually did the killing. I mean, that would just be mind blowing. But who knows? There's actually been that happen before. Anyways, guys, let's jump right back to the video.
The end of the day, some information, we can all appreciate that it is about the integrity of the case, but really, can that be an excuse, this flip-flopping from one way to the other on this targeted versus untargeted? At the end of the day, that is very, very important to confirm to the public just how safe they are, because at the moment, how safe are the public really? We just don't have answers to that. And like I say, there are a lot of questions. Not only that, but people are trying to find out how law enforcement would have initially concluded that this could have potentially been targeted. Was it indeed because of some of the information that we've kind of seen filtered through, which we can't 100% confirm the accuracy of that, but we're talking about the injuries that certain victims sustained that, you know, has obviously led to further speculation. You know, the issues that you have with Xana's mum being arrested for narcotics, and could there have been connections to narcotics, whether it be anguish over the supply, whether it be a monetary owed situation, and that has backfired. There's so many. There seems to still be, for some strange reason, a lot of questions surrounding the dog and whether the dog barked.
Okay, before we get on with this, let me share with you guys what I actually have read. But now this is just being read. This is just speculations, guys. So take it how you want it. But I read that at the sorority house, they actually had a party. As we know, they went out to the field. The cops was called. Alcohol. So the cops come out and dealt with that. But the girls went back home, and there was a fight there over drugs. Now, whether this is true and whether this is actually tied into everything, they're saying that maybe this is what the killing was actually over, was basically rage. But then there's people going on speculating that it's Jack and they wasn't together, so he actually came in and murdered 4 people. I don't see that happening, guys, but it's happened before, like I've said before as well. So speculations are speculations, guys. So never take one person's opinion. Always go do your research before you put it out there for everybody to see it, guys. And a lot of channels are just coming up and running away with everything just to get views, guys. That's not what I'm here for. We're here 100% for facts, and that is it, guys. Anyways, let's jump right back to the video.
Does the dog not barking show that whoever entered the property was known? Because the dog was obviously familiar. But at the end of the day, some dogs bark, some dogs don't. And I don't really see the importance in that.
And then again, I've seen that the dog was there, then I've seen the dog was not there. So there's 2 different sides here. It seems like everybody's coming with 2 different things, 3 different things, and then putting speculations and on top of that, just like the Venmo, $6 Venmo, 6 people in the house. Well, I don't tie that in with anything, guys. So whether you want to be a conspiracy theorist, that's totally up to you. Again, we're on this channel. We are very open-minded. We don't take no sides. But I will say this. Everything that is going on is crazy because one person killed 4 people. Now there was another one that lived in that home. Where were they at? What is their, are they female or are they male? What's their background? Why did they leave? What was they involved in? What job did they have? What job they had before that one? What's their record? I mean, that's literally what they need to be checking on, guys. Why this person left this home, because that person may be able to tell us everything that we need to know to put that puzzle with this puzzle and narrow down the search on who we're looking for, guys. So, anyways, guys, 100% facts. Let's get right back to the video.
the one of the big things for me, what I will say, is the layout of the property itself and the structural integrity of that property. It seems to me that it's quite an older property where there would be sounds carried through it. You know, like our property, if the kids are fighting upstairs, we can hear it. We know through what we've been told that some of the victims had defensive wounds. And along with defensive wounds comes struggle. With struggle comes noise. And I think this is why the surviving members of that house have caught so much flack, because the question is, how did they not hear anything? And this is still an ongoing question, which I don't want to surmise myself. At the end of the day, we weren't there, so we do not know. You know, we've all been young, we've all been passed out drunk. It could be that people sleep with earphones in, whatever, fans blowing, music playing. We just don't know. So that question may not ever be answered. But these big questions, like who this sixth person is, was this targeted? Was it not? These are questions that I feel do need to be answered. The public does have a right to know how safe and how unsafe they are. Further on, we hear that Jeremy has himself, this is Jeremy, the neighbour, he has gone and submitted his DNA. They didn't go to him and ask for it. He has gone forward himself and give them it. So he is being the proactive one there. So does that mean anything? Well, it means that Jeremy's willing to give his DNA. So, you know, despite, again, I've felt that he's a bit socially awkward, a little bit weird, but he seems to be doing what needs to be done. There was some flack yesterday from what I said about this area, and the law enforcement need to be going and getting DNA from people. And, you know, it's kind of triggered a lot of people because they were like, you know, our rights, etc. And I get that. I do get it. But I do also feel that there's a...
Okay, let me talk about this for a minute, guys. Look, if somebody is bringing forward DNA, we know they're probably not going to be the killer. And their DNA is probably not in that home neither. There's so many people in that home. This is a college town. Number one sought out house for college students off campus. These 6 people now lived in. The 4 girls that got murdered, or the 3 girls and 1 guy that got murdered inside that home. You have that, guys. You have surrounding people that is college people and people who's lived there and resided there for a while, who's older people with jobs or whatever it may be. We're not going to go around asking everybody for DNA, guys. That's just not going to happen. I think we have wasted enough time on this case. Worry about forensics inside of the house. Get everything done. Put together this 3D video that will remake this whole crime scene, this murder scene. Measure the blood splatters like they said they was going to do. Find out who was murdered first, who was murdered second, third, fourth. Move forward with that. So I think that's what we need to focus on. Of course, this murderer could have came from 4 different directions on this house and stalked these girls out. The one girl had a someone following her on her TikTok. She said that. He messaged her. Why haven't that been checked into? There's so many things that does not make sense. The masked guy that's ringing doorbell cams. Where's he? I do not think this has been handled right, and neither does half of the people fall in this case. I don't believe it's Jack. The $6 Venmo that was sent, I don't believe that has anything to do with anything. I believe people are trying to focus on all the stuff that they don't need to focus on. That's just my belief. Again, if the cops knew who this was or had any idea who this was, they would already be in jail, guys. They say they have DNA, they put it through a test, and it hasn't matched up with anybody. Now this guy's coming forward with his DNA. It tells me that they are don't know who this killer is 100%. And will this killer actually kill again? That's another thing we need to be asking. So is Moscow, Idaho safe? I'm sure everybody's thinking this. Everybody's probably locking their doors now, guys. Everybody. Anyways, guys, let's jump right back to the video.
Time and a place. And when you're talking about a small area, we've got a killer on the loose who has gone into a property and viciously murdered 4 students and is still at large. I do feel that law enforcement at that stage should be given the powers to do what needs to be done to bring this to justice. And I don't see why anybody would battle that. And if anybody around this area are battling that and they're saying, no, I don't want to give, the question then has to be asked, well, why don't you? Why would you not want to be part of the solution to get this brought to a conclusion? So on one hand, I understand where you're coming from. But on the other hand, what would you expect if it was your children, your child who had been butchered and you was looking for who did it? Let me know down below. Where are you?
Guys, and that is 100% facts. Look, if somebody has to come forward to give up DNA, this means that we don't have a killer. We don't even know who this killer is. If the cops go forward and ask everybody in this community to give up their DNA, we don't have a killer. If they're even thinking that, we don't have a killer. Now, it was said that the cops did not ask this guy to give up his DNA. He did it because he was awkwardly, he wasn't very much a social person. He was more a homebody, stayed at home, hermit, but he was very weird. But that doesn't make you a killer, guys. But he offered up his DNA, went forward and did that. So we'll see about that, guys. Like I said, we can speculate all we want in this case, but we've got to wait for forensics. And if they're actually goes on to ask people for DNA, it means they don't got a clue, guys. Anyways, but first and foremost, love yourself, like yourself, be nothing but yourself. Like, subscribe, channel, it's highly appreciated, guys. Thank you guys very much. Go check out the channel. There's a lot more where that come from, guys. But hey, your boy Deuces is out. Thank you, guys.